Good morning, afternoon, or evening, and welcome to the Hayseed night, where Aina has been kind of sneaking around trying to rescue Ader, and she's gotten herself into a bit of trouble here. Let's see what happens. Aina tried to jump back and forth, struggling to wiggle her head out of the powerful arm that had her in a headlock. The nature of her targets had never been a concern as far as she could think back, but her instinct told her that it mattered now more than ever. The creature restraining her threw its head back, and soon a high-pitched sound filled the air. To the uninitiated, it would have seemed nothing more fateful than a minstrel blowing a flute, or perhaps a sheet snapping against the wind. A dozen other so-called guards posted throughout the walls turned their bright eyes towards her, but only one of them began moving.
You know, this wasn't exactly what I had in mind when I told my crew that I wanted our reunion to bowl you over. But you've got to admit that a hostile takeover is just our kind of surprise party.
Aina's eyes twitched with every word. She looked up, finding a bright row of teeth above her.
Don't hold it against me, sis. We're just following orders.
We will now commence the trial of one Chanthurian refugee, Ader, son of Gurfaz, hailing from the now extinct ravine of Olus. Before we start, I'd like to remind you all to mind the pitchforks, keep your fawns by your side at all times, and please refrain from throwing rocks. Addison has been accused by Sir Elbar of Askadath, son of Thumar, of making an attempt on the life of his liege, Lord Burbeth of Askadath, son of Thumar, with whom he shares a father, but not,
Mother, half-brother, son of a maid! They don't need to know our goddamn life story! Get to the point already!
Ahem! The Imperial Edict of Estates and Privileges dictates that any commoner accused of a crime against a noble house, be it in their own lands or in a foreign province, shall be disposed of as the highest-ranking member of the affected family sees fit. In an auspicious and entirely unexpected subversion of this law, however, Sir Askadath has decided to hold a public trial for this peasant. Addison will be tried and judged instead by the city of Heirloom as a whole, against which he has committed the following additional crimes: unlicensed mendicancy, unlicensed smithery, unlicensed rivet peddling, street fighting, destruction of property, unlicensed reparation of said property, collaboration with a known Sevi, public drunkenness, and peeing on my leg that one time he was drunk.
Oh.
How do you plead against these charges, Addison?
I plead...
Innocent! Innocent!
Mr. Bard?
Oh, Hirab.
Oh, good gods, guard my toes! I didn't think I'd make it on time! I heard the words execution and one-eyed and I feared the worst! But you're here! You're fine! As fine as only you can be! Oh, my sweet cockeyed horn-eating ladder! Don't you dare worry me like that again, you dumbass! You are going to give me a heart attack one of these days!
Bard, I don't know what to say. Look, I really appreciate the thought, but,
Yeah, I don't really know if him showing up in Ader's defense is a good thing or a bad one.
Yes, you can apologize all you want later. We have more urgent matters to attend to now. Like your sudden bout of frontal nudity. Where did your stupid cape go? One night in jail and you're coming back with tattoos? Haven't I taught you anything at all?
who's that scraggly singing poodoo capering around with a hat stuck to his magnificent horns, Ear Grab?
Illigrab contemplated his feet wistfully, combing the ground in search of the right words to define 30 years of history buried beneath the pavement. Geoff keenly skipped this preamble.
I am no poodoo, my lord. I'm just short, which is sadder. My name is Geoff, son of Egai. Yes, that Egai. And I am Addison's herald, manager, landlord, and lawyer. Kindly ignore anything this lumbering psychopath may say about me, Sir Askadath. Not content with having my father killed unjustly and destroying my life, this backstabber seeketh to get rid of my best friend as well.
I'm only letting you stay with Ader if you promise to keep personal grudges and slandering comments to yourself, Geoff. That goes for you too, Sir Askadath.
Illigrab wiggled his mustache nervously as he turned his face away. A perfect chance to strike. Geoff didn't waste any time doing vocal warm-ups. He jumped straight into the scene, dragging Ader's oblong head under his armpit like a solid piece of evidence.
So what has this hapless backwater haven of peace done to deserve a sentence as ostentatious as attempted magnacide? Was the sight of his hunched neck and his deformed hands such offense on Sir Askadath's eyes that he longed for a quick death?
Ader punched Sir Askadath's brother, Lord Burbith of Askadath, in the face.
I need a second to review the case with the defendant. What were you thinking, you recalcitrant brute?
Nothing! I mean, I didn't do it just because I felt like it. That nutcase was obsessed with Dana. He wanted to prove she was a golem or something, so he pulled out a knife and he put it at me, so I ran away. But then he began cutting his robes, so...
He began cutting in his robes, so what? What? Aina is a golem, Ader. Nothing but a puppet made of metal and marble. She moves with magic. She could have eaten that knife if she wanted.
She could eat knives for breakfast every day if she wanted, and I'd still stand up for her anyway, because she's the best boss in the world, and nothing else matters here.
I go to bed thinking that you've finally gotten over your onanistic delusions, only to find that you've lost your mind overnight. You can fool yourself, but not me, Ader. I know you were just afraid of letting him show you what her insides look like.
I'm gonna show you what your insides look like if you don't shut your yapper this instant, Geoff.
You dare threaten me? Me? The deer that took pity on you and fed you and found you a job when you didn't even have a corner to crawl into and die? The deer that loves you like only your mother could? You turn on me over a stupid piece of...
Are you done over there?
Oh, I'm done with this golem humper, all right?
Great! Then let us proceed with the testimony of the first eyewitness. Soonerall of the Lucky Bastard, if you please.
The old woman coyly walked towards the center of the growing circle of attendees. She nodded respectfully towards Illigrab and then made a small curtsy with her apron.
Oh, 3. I saw it, sir. I did see it with my own eyes. I watched that blonde hornless fawn nearly get his snot punched off his face by Ader here, no less. Just when you think you've seen everything in this city.
Could you describe your relationship with the defendant, miss?
Oh, it's nothing like that, sir. Ader's just a client. One of my favorites, too. So poor, and yet so honest for lying as much as he does. Nothing like that little fiend Geoff. Yes, Ader is such a good boy that not one day had I seen him mad. Not one. Till last night, that is. Goes to show you never know with his ilk. Some screw must have come loose in that thick skull of his. I'm telling you, sir. It's all that butting heads business they do.
Huh? Huh? Did you hear that, peasants? This stag is clearly out of his wits. He's a danger to us all.
Elbar, wait until your turn to throw baseless accusations. Soonerall, try to recall, please. Did Ader really explode all of a sudden? Or was there something else affecting his reaction?
Well, I didn't want to assume it would be something bad, but They did babble a little before that. Lots of fancy words thrown around. Scared the clients away from my tavern faster than Gyoff's music could. But I can't really help you there. It all flew right over my head.
I couldn't get half of what he was saying either, but that don't matter here, man. Tell him what happened then. And tell him how he digging and drew a sword at me.
Oh, there you go, making up tall tales again. That was no sword, 'twas just a knife. If only that stupid, stubborn Stumpy Horns hadn't...
Miss Barkeep's mouth opened and closed slowly as words failed to take form in her mind.
Resume your testimony at once, woman. It happened last night, not last week.
Sir, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I forgot what the blonde boy did after that.
Miss Barkeep's voice became nothing but a whisper as she finished testifying.
A senile bartender and a ravenous street shrub gone mad? This trial couldn't get any more pointless if it tried. Are you all convinced now? Am I allowed to put an end to this torment?
Hellbar, that's not how trials... Actually, never mind. Sunero was the only eyewitness, Burbeth is still knocked out, and Aina is thankfully...
Aina! The beast! That's it! That's what tried to hurt the beast! I told him not to! He should have listened to me! They'll come for us, you'll see! The beast will come! Isifik, save us from them!
Wow. I knew she was crazy to hire me, but this is a whole new level of insane.
What sort of deluded nonsense is this? She seemed fine a moment ago. You dastard! Have you paid this hag to speak in your defense?
You call this a defense? She got far too many cobwebs in the attic if she really thinks boss is anything but a dyed dough. Y'all gotta get your eyes checked, darn it.
Who in the name of the Hatsa is this boss of yours now?
The beast! Oh, the beast!
Sunero, please! Come back to your senses! Beasts are nothing but old wives' tales in this day and age. There's no such thing as... Illigrab! Have you seen that beast of mine?
Illigrab's sigh could have been heard from a league away, deeper and louder than the gasps and screams shed by the mob around them. He gently pushed the barkeep aside after wordlessly reassuring her that everything would be okay.
Well, look what beat has decided to snake its brains out of its hole. You all know him, dear jury. The last merchant of Basaksarat. Just the calcified Barhan skeleton we needed in this freak show.
Put a padlock on that crap hole you call a mouth, or I'll stitch it shut for you, Gyoff.
Try all you want to scare me with scatological threats, Furtok. I know deep down you are always happy to see your godson.
So happy that if I had eyes, I'd pull them out of my skull again just to avoid seeing you. Now move before I move you, scullion! The sun would rise and fall twice before I was done insulting you and that stuttering mumble crust you foisted on me.
Can someone please tell me why in the name of Baitatse and all the gods both big and small are we letting a witch walk in like this?
This witch is the father of the absent eyewitness, Your Grace. So perhaps he can share a little insight on the whereabouts of the only creature in this kingdom that could have a shot at saving the defendant.
Didn't you just hear me, you earless squeaker? That's what I'd like to know. I don't care what that little vandal does with her knights, but she didn't even bother coming home to light at the forge today.
Say what? Aina wouldn't skip a day of work if her life depended on it. Something's gotta have happened to her.
Calm down, you two. Look, Red, Aina and Ader went out for a drink last night at my expense. Your daughter had a bit of a wardrobe malfunction, so Ader was a gentleman and lent her his scarf. And then he decided to punch feudalism in the face while he was at it. Wherever she is, she's not here, so why don't you go and wait for her in the temple, I'm sure she'll come back sooner or later, as usual. Not so fast, tumbleweed! I have some words for this daughter Solier first!
How dare you take Aina to a watering hole without my permission? If anything's happened to her, I'm gonna kick you so hard you'll have to wear your balls as a bow tie!
Well, darn, patron. You better hurry up or I ain't gonna have no neck to time around.
What are you babbling about, you ragabash? Drag your sorry tail here and help me look for my daughter at once!
My boy Ader would gladly accompany you on your deliria. But there's a minor snag in the way. They're trying to hang that ungrateful lump of barely cohesive musculature you call an apprentice.
And that's it? You weak-livered milk drinker! What kind of excuse is that? These ruffians try to calcine me once a week, and you won't see me complaining!
See, Ader? This is why I like hanging out with Brett. He never takes the whole execution thing personally.
So now you want me to look at him, huh?
This is what I get for trying to lighten up the mood.
Are you all trying to make a fool out of me? Stop disrupting this trial at once! I swear by Bite-Tet that if you don't put an end to this grotesque parade, I'll skip the protocol and cut this idiot's neck myself!
What is he being accused of, anyway?
Punching a noble in the face and working for you, mostly.
What? Are you listening to yourself? This idiot couldn't hit a Magadar in the ass with a reverb fiddle!
Finally, someone with a lick of sense. So you agree there must be a logical explanation for his recent behavior, right? Such as magic, for example. Come on, Pertok. Why don't you tell the audience how you used your spooky, stuffy wizardry to cast a spell on Ader?
You really think if I still had the power to make anyone do anything, I'd let these dunces treat me like they do?
Oh, come on, old geezer. Play along. It's not like they could try to kill you any more than they already do.
I'm not saying there wasn't magic. I'm saying I wasn't the one who did it.
The merchant raised one of his bony red fingers and pointed it towards the crowd.
I'd recognize the stench of a death if 1,000 leagues away. And this place reeks. Don't try to hide yourself now.
After a few uncomfortable glances, the makeshift jury segued into two groups. At the end of the new path formed between them stood Elbar, flabbergasted. The captain of the guard needed a few more seconds to realize that this was not about him and stepped sideways, revealing a red-haired gazelle standing rather conspicuously against the crowd.
Stop with your pretense, crone! You can't possibly be talking about her! This is my...
Sep?
Who's this Sep you speak of? This is Jasif, as the witch said, princess of...
Princess? Is that what you're going by now? Whatever happened to calling yourself queen? Was the throne too small for Her Majesty's ass?
If you could eat all that envy, Giav, perhaps you would have a butt to sit on.
Whoa, hold up! Hold up right there till my head stops spinning! You two!
Unlike a certain orange parasite, I don't have time to sit around stuffing my face all day. Indulge in hedonism all you want. It is work that shapes the man. Though I guess round is a shape after all.
Big words for someone that looks like a deer sawn in half.
Funny you should mention size when you look like two gazelles glued together. Fat ass!
Imp!
Ader had to grab onto Geoff's tail to stop him from heading off into the audience, wielding his ode as a club.
Oh, I knew this would happen. Should have gotten rid of Geoff as soon as I saw him.
So you're telling me that you, the horned mushroom, and Jasif or Giuseppe or whoever she is now, knew each other? And you didn't breathe a word?
I thought it had become obvious when he accused me of having his father executed and ruining his life. Though, honestly, I shouldn't say accused. I am guilty. But so was Guy, I'm afraid. To think Geoff would go to such extents to fight for his father's name.
That's on him, not you, you sappy pine. That boy ruined his life betting on all the wrong numbers.
Don't feel bad, Illigrab. You hanged a murderer as far as anyone else is concerned.
This is why I ran away from home, you bunch of traitors.
Their heavy words vanished one by one until only a silence remained.
I was supposed to obtain answers in this trial, damn it, not questions! Why are these people calling you Sap over and over? Are you truly Jasif or not?
Of course I am. I was born a Jasif, and as Jasif I live. Though I was known as Omaseptooth for a few years before I was free to take the name I deserved. These two are merely family friends bent on resisting inertia and clinging to the idea of the child I was. This changes nothing between us, Sir Askadath. My role remains the same. I am Jasif, brought from the brink of oblivion in the sands of Basaksarat to be raised in the Desert Rose, while I wait to build my kingdom anew.
That's the story her mother used to tell us anyway.
Remember when Thar would call us over to have dinner with the whole family? Oh, those were the days.
Enough! Is there anyone in this trial who hasn't seen you in diapers?
Me. That'd be me. This buck's just as confused as the rest of y'all here.
Yeah, I'm sure this bed swerver's seen her with far less than that.
Now, Red, let's not jump to conclusions.
Ader is a proper southern deer and my best friend while at that. And the only girl he's ever dared fantasize with is that painted rock you call a daughter. I can vouch for the fact that he has never, ever in his life said anything about spending a night with a gazelle.
Geoff pulled Ader down by the noose.
And much less this one in particular. Right, Ader?
Still water runs deep, you little truant.
Oh, come on, patron. Look at me. I mean, listen to yourself. Who'd ever want a deformed buck like this one here? Hands like a shovel, face like a shoe. If you saw me naked, you'd know there's always someone better to do.
Speaking of better things to do, I'm sorry for interrupting our little dainty family reunion, but this will get long if we don't hurry it up. May I remind you all what we're trying to achieve here?
Shut it, Plant! I wish to hear what this old fogey has to say about those two first.
I'll be brief.
Brief was the blow the red man delivered upon Ader's stomach. The boy curled over his cane, displaying the burns that ran across his chest and shoulders clearly for all to see.
She did this!
I'm sorry, I did what? Hit him with a cane? Order you to hit him for me? What are you accusing me of exactly?
Don't play dumb with me, daughter of Thar! You know fully well that you have branded my property as your own!
Employee. The word is employee when you're talking about a person. Already gone over this, Red. Indentured servitude was abolished 4 centuries ago.
Not in my temple! And you're lucky that's the only corner of the city where my edicts remain. If we were still in Basaksarat, I'd have this girl's palms splayed and all the windows in her house shut so she couldn't conjure a single ember again.
Conjure? As in spells? Forget the Sandfur! Burn her! Burn them both! Cease these senseless accusations at once!
Weren't you the one who wanted to bring magic into this? Here's your magic! This shameless broad has been pawing at my daughter's apprentice for quite a few moons now. She could have been using him for anything she wanted.
Red, I hope you realize you're making some very serious accusations. Lethally serious. Do you have any proof to accompany them?
You have the word of a Sephi, and that was worth more than 1,000 knot back in the day.
I'm afraid we don't have any foreign exchange consultants around, so I'll need to see some factual evidence.
That much I can't do, Old Fern. Be my eyes. What does the brand look like?
The mob became a single whispery unity congregated around Ilegrab. The tree man nodded and hummed every few seconds.
After much deliberation, the jury has decided that the brand seems to be, citing textually, a ham, either a young deer's, or a doe's, or a barhen's. You realize we can't condemn her with such a big error margin, correct?
You're telling me this clumsy scamp didn't even bother making a proper pattern? You idiots! Do the sensible thing and put her hands on the marks!
Ader and Sepp exchanged a brief look.
I'd sooner take a bath in the sewers than touch that flea bag. Who knows where it's been?
Oh, yeah. I'm so full of fleas, they call me Ader the Prancing Deer. And you can catch mange just from looking at me. I got rabies, I got scabies, and don't even get me started on the eye.
Touch that filthy deer, Sepp.
Color drained from Ader's face. He glanced at Sepp desperately, but she had her eyes firmly set on Elbar's.
As you wish, but all you will manage to prove is that he's starved for touch.
Sepp advanced gracefully through the crowd, looking so keen as she walked that she could have fooled anyone into thinking she was taking a stroll through her garden instead of making her way towards Ader. His mind raced as she approached. He thought about what he would say to her if these were his last words. He thought about how much he wanted to headbutt all of his acquaintances. Actually, that was all he could think of at this point. Sepp had, thankfully, far more poise than he did. She didn't spare a word for him when she reached him. She merely took a finger to her chin and ran her eyes up and down the deer in front of her, acting like she had never seen him up close before. Ader pretended to return the favor.
You like what you see, ma'am?
His fake confidence wavered at the end, breaking the effect ever so slightly, but it was enough. The public reacted with gasps and slight disgust, while Sepp shot a knowing smile in his direction.
I'm afraid you're too tall for my taste, or my reach for that matter. If you could get on your knees for me.
Sepp extended her hands towards his shoulders as Ader took a knee, leaving them staring at each other in some sort of ceremonial naming pose.
Think of something!
Ader heard Sepp's plea clearly, but he seemed to be the only one. The buck nearly smiled to himself, knowing perfectly well what this meant. As far as the crowd was concerned, the gazelle remained perfectly calm and still, but in Ader's mind, she was speaking volumes with only the slightest tilt of her head and the way she clasped his shoulder. Ader forgot that there was a world outside of her eyes, feeling only the touch of her hands as her voice passed through his head. She sounded anxious and bidding, but for some reason he couldn't bring himself to care. Her warmth was all he needed. Booming, loud words began filling Ader's head, covering Sepp's thoughts like a thick paste until it was impossible to hear her voice anymore. Ader tried to hold on to the whispers that remained, distraught, but it was for naught. He had to wake up and listen.
Uh-huh. What was that?
Ader only realized that Sepp had been pinching his shoulder over and over, trying to get him to snap out of it once he saw Ilegrab's doubtful face hovering above his.
I said that her hands seem to match, though again, that's hardly conclusive. It would be wrong to assume this young woman dabbles in sorcery just because she's a gazelle. We can't forget, however, that a known Sephi is accusing her of magically influencing Ader in some way. And it would seem that the boy is a little too, affected by her proximity to properly present his testimony.
I told you he looked desperate.
I will only ask this once, Umaseptut Jasif, daughter of Thar. What is your relationship with the accused?
Well, what do I say?
You're asking me?
No, Ader. All I'm asking you right now is to shut your snout and let the lady talk while you get your own ideas in order.
All right. Thinking with my mouth shut, Thinking for real hard. Hold up! Why are you leaving the excuses to me? You're the smart one here. You think of something.
Haven't you been paying attention? I was practically raised by these idiots. They'll know I'm lying.
Do you want to tell them the truth then?
That is not an option.
Miss Jasif, if you please.
Then don't lie. Just make the truth prettier than it should be. That's what I do every time.
And how am I supposed to do that when I don't even know what the truth is?
This ain't no philosophical question. Just tell me, what are we supposed to be?
Nothing!
That's a lie. Give me a truth, but better.
Well, we are... what are we? 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 What are we?
So, what are we?
I'm a gazelle. You claim to be a deer, but honestly, I'm not all that convinced you aren't actually the personification of a tuber.
No, I mean, what are we, as in, what's going on here? You know, you and me and you, you know?
Ader began making gestures that would have looked far more ridiculous than obscene with normal hands, never mind his.
You're asking if I would be mad if you were to see someone else.
You're trying your darnest to avoid the question.
Excuse me. I didn't realize this was an interrogation. No, Ader, I don't care what you do with your free time, as long as you come over when I want you to. Will that be all?
Nah, I ain't buying that. Come on. You're really trying to tell me that you wouldn't get jealous if I walked up to a doe and hugged her and kissed her and asked her to marry me? Not even a little bit?
No, and to be honest, the possibility hadn't even crossed my mind.
Right. Of course. I mean, I get it. Yeah. You ain't gotta worry, because I'm the toothpick to your 7-course meal.
Is that some sort of attempt at an analogy?
Oh, no, ma'am. I'd never try that again without your permission. I'm just saying. I'm like a used toothpick. Here for you and no one else, because I'll gross everyone else out.
Oh, I see. Emotional chantage. Is that what this is about? What an unbecoming habit for a stag as handsome as yourself. The nerve you have, trying to hear me say how amusing and kind you are, not to mention brave and resilient. That's certainly not how I'd expect my favorite to behave.
So, I'm your favorite, huh? Hold up. You mean there are others?
Oh, don't be silly. There can only be one favorite.
No, I refuse. No matter how you insist, I can't just choose one. You are all my favorites.
It doesn't work like that, Mom. You have to pick one.
Why? Can't I love all my children equally?
It's not love, it's law. Illigrip says that it's the parents' duty to choose one child to favor as the heir of their estates to prevent a division of power and infighting among their descendants.
I need to have a word with Mr. Buntalos about his idea of age-appropriate lessons.
The doe's coattails meandered behind her as she made her way through the pergola. Seb followed them closely.
He also said that I don't need to worry about any of that because I'm not a doe like you. Is that true, Mom?
The trail of ghostly silk came to a sudden halt. The doe turned around to lift the tiny gazelle between her arms.
You know what, Sep? You are my only daughter. So that technically makes you my favorite daughter, doesn't it?
What does technically mean?
Kind of.
That means I can technically keep my room?
No, dear, you are destined for far greater things. You will have your very own palace when you're older, much, much bigger than this one.
But I don't want to go. I want to stay here with you. I don't need a big room. It can be small, the smallest one.
Holy horns! This is your room? For real? I didn't know Barhan fortune tellers lived in places this fancy. I mean, look at that! This place is bigger than my whole house! I gotta share it, too.
A mere fortune teller could never afford it, of course. If gaze reading was the extent of my skills, I wouldn't be able to afford wasting time with indecisive paupers like you.
I ain't got a clue what you called me just now, but that's all right, because here, I'll let you in on a little secret, ma'am. You've been fooled through and through. This was all a test.
A test, So you mean to tell me all that sobbing about stealing your first kiss was just a lie?
No friggin' chance, ma'am. I ain't letting a creep like you off the hook so easy now. But since you got far bigger creeps than yourself hollering down your window, I decided to heroically risk my own body to make you company, till I'm sure you're safe and sound.
And of course, my little bribe had nothing to do with this decision.
Yep. I mean, no, not at all. I was just trying to, see if you could really read minds. Figure out my true intentions while I tried to resist your delicious pastries.
My bad. How could I forget the legendary cunning of the roe deer?
Hey now! Don't think you could get cute with me just because you got me to come here after all. I'm still mad at you. Real mad.
Oh, honey, come on. You can't stay mad at your poor brother forever.
He is no brother of mine.
What would Thar say if she saw you two fighting like that?
She can't say anything anymore, can she? Mom? Mom? Ah! Mom!
You didn't think I would let you catch me with my guard down twice, did you?
Whoa, that was a lot. Ader bolted up, his mind in a daze and his face covered in sweat. He felt like a volcano had erupted from his heart, setting his whole skin ablaze from antlers to hooves. But that wasn't the most distressing part. Something was grabbing his shoulders, something far more powerful than himself, something bright enough to show through his shut eyelid. He had lived through this once before and came out scarred, but his body refused to learn. Once more, the temptation to look at something his mind wouldn't understand overwhelmed him. He didn't find an angry fireball watching over his limp body this time, however, but a familiar pair of cold blue eyes staring down at him.
Sep! You were fine just now, but also I was there for a while too. But then there was this doe and a door, and then it got real scary and...
You need to find a healthier outlet for those voyeuristic tendencies of yours, Ader.
I didn't catch a word of that.
Sep shoved her face so close that her horns touched Ader's.
If you keep peeping through every crack you find, someone's going to end up poking your eye out, you creep.
The strength of her grip intensified for a moment before finally letting go, putting an end to the unnatural flush Ader felt all over his body. Both his skin and his thoughts began cooling down little by little as she walked away.
You calling me a creep? You? I hate to break it to you like this, ma'am, but I'm precisely the one that needs a lesson on keeping his hands to himself the most in this.
Ader finally took notice of the world around him, an endless mass of fine sand extending in all directions, shining bright against the blue sky above. The dunes of Basakserat had been a nameless antagonist in the tales that grandiloquent traveling merchants would share as they stopped by Ader's village, but he had never thought he'd see the desert in person. This land wasn't completely barren, though. Columns of alabaster rose from the ground, forming magnificent colonnades, just like those that decorated the Temple of Hirub back in Heirloom. And in the center of it all stood Sep, watching from a throne that sat in the nearest point between derision and amusement.
Where are we? No. When are we?
You are right here and right now. Don't change the topic.
Whoa, hold up! This ain't no memory, is it? I'm thinking. I can hear my thoughts.
Congratulations on your newfound powers of introspection.
Powers of what?
No, Ader, this isn't a memory. This is something far, far more personal than that. I guess you could say that you are standing inside my mind right now. Though, a more correct way to put it would be saying that you are trapped.
Say what? No way you could do that!
Of course I can. I can do whatever I want inside my own mind. And as the ancient Bazakted adage prays, an open door is not an invitation. You showed up uninvited, and so I have decided to lock you up like the burglar of secrets you are.
Nice try, but I got enough of these inspection powers to tell you're trying to use my tricks on me. I ain't so scared of you. I'm just gonna eat any half-baked magic-y radish stew you cook up, ma'am.
See? Your advice is useless if I don't know the whole truth first.
You don't know what happened either?
I can only speculate as I try to piece together an explanation. My best guess so far is that our little bonding experiment worked much, much better than I anticipated it would.
Ader clutched his burns.
Bonding sure is a fancy way to call what you did to me.
The fact that you remember enough to be bitter proves that I did indeed manage to find a relatively harmless way to circumvent the curse. I've made a historical breakthrough, and you should be thanking me for my efforts.
Oh yeah, thanks for the tattoos and all the nights I spent hollering down your window without an answer. What did you fix my mind for if you were just planning to act like you didn't know me? You like seeing me hurt like that?
Yes, making you grovel is definitely always a plus. But I'm not so cruel as to plan something like that in advance. It was more of a spontaneous decision, a change of heart, if you will. I realized that I quite enjoy tormenting cowards.
I ain't no coward, I was just scared. You can't blame me for running away. You set me on fire!
Did you spend a whole moon ablaze?
Ader looked up at the gazelle looming over him. He realized that he was trying to win a conversation on a topic he didn't even want to recall. The weight of his anger turned to hurt under the pressure of her stare.
Where are you going?
I'm gonna go find the exit and get so you don't gotta see my ugly mug ever again.
You do realize that the part about being locked up wasn't a lie, correct? This is my core, my retreat, the place where I go when it looks like the sky is about to fall on me. No one should be able to reach this deep within someone else's mind, and especially not you.
I found my way out of deeper pits, no worries. Only thing I care about is getting out of here before it's too late.
Late? Really? You think you're going to be late inside a thought? Oh, that's precious. Please explain to me how someone as clumsy as you managed to slip past my defenses, because I seriously can't understand it.
All I'm hearing is blah, blah, blah. Ader's dumb, and I already knew that.
Time is not an objective reality in the same way a rock or your ignorance would be. An hour can go by in a moment when you're having fun, but that same hour can be a torturous eternity for someone in pain. Time lives inside your mind. A good gaze reader knows how to look inwards as much as outwards and use time in their favor. As long as I can keep my thoughts focused enough, time will remain effectively stopped for me and for you, little stowaway. We could potentially have a whole eternity to spend together, provided I don't die of ennui first. Then again, I'm sure you'll figure out a way to keep me entertained. We have a lot to catch up on.
A cup of wine manifested into Sepp's hand. She took a sip, grimaced, and poured the rest on the ground, where it vanished immediately. Then she tried to conjure another.
So, what'll happen to us outside? You know, in the real world?
We'll die one way or another, and no one will shut up about it. A Barhan witch and a one-eyed horn-eater. No, forbidden lovers die in each other's arms as their plot is revealed. Yes, that sounds great. It's very romantic. They'll write songs about us.
Sepp looked up from her fourth attempt at remembering the taste of a cup of wine.
You look awfully somber for someone who is about to spend an eternity with the most beautiful girl on Dakna and have fame to outlive him for years to come. Isn't this like a dream come true for you, Sir Aderson?
No! And even if it was, it wouldn't be right like this. You're about to die for something you ain't done, and my first reaction was whining because you don't like me instead of trying to do something about it. You sure you want to spend an eternity with a buck like me?
Of course not. All I wanted was to keep you out of my thoughts for the rest of my life. But seeing as how you have made your way into my mind quite literally, I'm afraid I don't have much of a choice. Willful resignation is a skill of its own.
No, ma'am! No one's settling down for Aderson just because they don't think they deserve better. There's got to be a way to get out of here and make it out alive. I'll get back to the trial and show them I did what I did because I'm dumb as a bag of rocks and you ain't got nothing to do with it, and...
How stubborn can you get, Ader? Am I not explaining myself properly, or is it that you don't want to understand? I always knew you were a simpleton, but I refuse to believe you're this naive.
You got a point there, or are you just itching to insult me?
Elbar wouldn't listen to a nobody like you if it cost him his life. The trial was a farce.
A what?
Sepp tilted her head away from Ader, fixing her gaze instead on the empty vastness ahead of them. The sand trembled and bubbled up as it began rising and taking the form of a deer and a gazelle.
A trial? What do you mean, a trial?
You said it yourself. Peasants are a brainless lot. We both know that you have more than enough reasons to want that deer dead, but the mob... I'm afraid they will need a little convincing on who to root for when his head rolls.
And why should I care about the townsfolk's opinion? My guards have more spears than they have pitchforks.
Do you really want to give them reasons to make a martyr out of a street shrub? You should be basking in the glory of avenging your brother, but instead they're cheering for him. I get the impression no one seems to appreciate your efforts, Sir Askadath.
They really don't, do they? After all I do for them, all the times I've tried to make it up to Burbeth for my mistakes.
Precisely. You need to show them your better side, so that Burbeth may wake up and finally realize what kind of man his brother truly is.
Your genius never ceases to amaze me, Jasif. I was too blinded by honor to realize that Burbeth's sympathy for the commoners lights my path to redemption. Yes, we shall hold a trial to show my liege how fair and compassionate I am. Munificent, too! I shall dispense a few coins among the crowd before the trial to remind the citizens of my... no, Askadath's generosity. Their loyalty shall not waver when it's time to cast the verdict. And then I'll present the body to my brother as a gift. Mwah! Perfect. Just perfect.
Grim didn't even begin to describe Ader's expression as the memory dissipated into dust.
I only encouraged your optimism because I found it amusing, Ader, but I'm telling you now, it's hopeless. The balance was tipped from the start.
So what do you want me to do then? Sit on my hands while he sharpens his sword? I won't be happy spending an eternity knowing you're about to get burnt to a crisp for trying to help me.
I wasn't trying to help you, damn it. I knew there was no way you could win. I didn't do this to be charitable. I just wanted to make sure that I could see you face to face one last time and know you mean nothing to me. You don't owe me anything, Ader. I brought this upon myself.
Seb slumped back into a column that rose to seat her. She looked weary and small, tired from fighting a battle she would never share aloud.
If you don't want me to stand up for you, then at least I'll stand up for myself just this once. This could be the last chance I get to prove I got a head over my shoulders, Sip.
Do you now?
See, you're fine with this because everyone knows you got your head screwed on right. But if I don't speak now, I'm gonna die being Ader the dumbass. My neighbors will say, "Remember Ader?" And they'll go, "Darn right, ain't never seen a bigger dumbass in my life." And it's my fault, right? Because I let him. I thought if I didn't watch my tongue, I'd end up hanging myself with it. But that didn't make me smarter. That just meant everyone could put words in my mouth and make me dumber than I am. Y'all thought Shovel Hands was a soft-spoken boy, but no more. I'm gonna get loud. I'm gonna get louder than ever, so Lord Snotty Snout's gotta listen. Addison, son of a father, ain't never shutting up again, you hear me?
You're really setting the bar high, aren't you? I've heard you talk even in dreams. Where else do you plan to... Hold that thought. Could you really be rambling as we speak?
Seb sat back up slowly. Something had changed in her eyes.
I know that face. You got a plan, don't you? That's the Sip I know, smart as a whip and only half as mean. What do you need? Just say the word and I'll get right to it, my queen.
That's a great start. But you are going to need more than mere compliments if you want to convince Elbar that you deserve a second chance.
I'm getting mixed messages here, ma'am. You think I got a chance or not? Didn't you just say he wasn't going to listen to a word I said?
And he won't. You could warn him that his head were on fire, and he would refuse to listen to you on the basis of not liking the way you speak. He's more concerned with the envelope than the letter. If you manage to get past Elbar's brashness and appeal to his sensibilities, you'll find that he's hiding a heart under his delicate ego. The magnitude of his emotions is his biggest weakness, and I, of course, happen to know how to stir them better than anyone else.
Whoa there! Don't go getting ahead of yourself now. I don't want you magicking up nobody else's memory again.
As if I had to. There's nothing Elbar loves more in the world than a good tragedy, and you are nothing short of miserable. I'm sure that if you could stroke his ego a little and spin some sad tale, he would call off the trial and pardon you immediately.
Sob story's all you need? Call me Weeper Whaler Ader then! I've done far worse than cry a little, save my butt. I ain't even gonna break a sweat. But that still begs the question, ma'am. Where'd that leave you if it works?
Seb blinked, clearly taken aback by the sincerity of the question. Ader would have sworn that he spied the faintest blush forming over her cheeks if he hadn't known her better.
As I said, you don't need to worry about me. Elbar will call off the trial before he lets anyone soil my name, or his by association.
Is that right? He sure looks the type who don't need help soiling his anything.
Takes one to know one, I suppose.
Both the gazelle and the deer shared a mean, knowing grin.
What do you say we call this even for now? Truce?
Truce. Only until I can get you out of my mind, of course.
Would you kindly show me the way out then?
Could I even? I have an idea of how to get you out of here, but it's kind of a drag, and it's going to take us both quite a lot of mental preparation. I'm getting exhausted just from thinking about it.
Sep crossed her legs in a very calculated fashion. Ader couldn't do maths, however.
What are you willing to do in exchange for my help?
Oh, darn it. You got me right where you want it, don't you? I've been playing hard to get, but I'm afraid a buck can only fight back for so long. Oh, what the hey? Come on up, you goof off. I'll carry you there.
Sep headed off in a seemingly random direction, not bothering to look at him twice.
Hey, Sep, I'm not that dumb. I was just messing with you. We can still... Sep, wait up! Don't give me the cold shoulder now! I've missed you too! Sep!
My plan to get you out of here involves a bit of an abstract petition. I need you to follow the trail left by a particularly disruptive feeling, one that has been keeping me up every night since you ran away.
Ader almost opened his mouth to intervene with his version of the story, but he managed to remind himself he wasn't standing on solid enough grounds to argue.
At first, I thought it was fear. I was afraid that you would summon the guards and tell everyone what happened. I was convinced that my time had come, and I prepared myself to embrace death. But days passed, and no one came knocking on my door.
You really thought I was planning to tell on you like that? I am scared as all get out. A prairie buck could deal with this gal being a mind-reading horn hottie, not a gosh darn friggin' fireball. But that don't mean you stop being you. I'd never let nothing happen to you.
So I saw, now and then. And once my fear vanished, I decided to stop worrying about you and return to normality. I managed somehow. Everything was going better than ever for me, and yet the restlessness just kept growing. Ever since that night, I keep recalling parts of my life that I thought long forgotten. I can't take a single step without second-guessing myself. I fear I'm turning soft, weak. I don't know.
After what felt like hours walking, their journey came to an apparent end. A pristine marble wall blocked any further advance. It stood tall and proud, looking far more impregnable and solid from afar than any wall Ader had seen in the real world. It seemed endless and eternal. Upon closer examination, however, the glamour built from lies and self-importance disappeared. This imposing defense was actually full of breaches and crumbling apart.
I lack the words to describe the change you've stirred within me, Ader, but that hardly matters anymore. All I know is that you have managed to slip past my defenses, and that means it's only a matter of time until someone does it on purpose. I need you to take advantage of my vulnerabilities to find the way back out, and then lead me to it, so I can close it. No one shall get so close to my heart again.
Let me get this straight. The only way out of your mind's making you a worse person, somehow?
I suppose that is one way to put it, yes. Good people don't exactly thrive in the upper crust. That's why I'm closer than ever to power. And you, well, the news suits you just fine.
I don't know, Your Majesty. I get the feeling you're being just the usual amount of ugly to this buck. You sure anything's changed at all?
Don't mistake cooperation for forgiveness, Ader. You deserve my help, not my kindness. I am still terribly mad at you.
Look, I know I messed up, and I messed up a bunch, but you ain't the only one with reason to be angry. You ain't got a clue what it's like to hide a charred chest and a secret like that from all your friends for a moon. I'm just saying, ma'am, if you think you get to be madder than Ader, you're...
Time decelerated to a near halt as the accidental pun left Ader's mind, escaped his mouth, and reached Sep's ears. Her lips began trembling, followed by her cheeks. A flush of red covered her nose, and for a second it looked like she would lose her impromptu challenge.
Ahem. As I was saying, your intrusion may yet prove to be a net positive on my life. Show me how to steal my heart, and I will gladly return the favor once we go back to the real world.
But why would you go and leave something so important in these shovel hands? You sure you want me seeing all those memories? I mean, you know yourself really well, right? Can't you just go in there and use them inspection powers to point me to the exit?
Introspection, Ader. And no, self-deception is much stronger than self-help. I'm self-aware enough to know that any attempt at self-analysis would only leave me crawling back into a cycle of self-loathing and make me lose control of both this place and myself.
You forgot any self in there?
Seb's glare made it quite obvious that this was not the time for quips.
I can surmise where my issues lay and point you in their direction once you know what you're looking for, Ader. That's the extent of what I can do without the guidance of another gaze reader, and you're the closest I've seen to one in a decade.
Alright, well, I was kind of thinking we'd get through this trial thing in this episode, but apparently there's going to be lots more to it than I realized. So I'm ending this episode here, and we'll continue this quest to get out of Seb's mind and back into the trial in the next one. So for now, thank you so much for watching and spending a little of your time with me here today. It was lovely to have you. Please remember to be kind to yourself. Have a lovely rest of your day, and I will see you again next time.